Good morning, church. I decided to wait right until the clock clicked down to 0 before I decided to speak. So, anyways, it is wonderful to be here with each and every one of you on this Sunday morning. It does feel like fall, and I'm excited by that. There's a crispness in the air that I really appreciate. If you're looking for announcements or want to know what's going on in the church, just keep in contact with the church office and know that we are constantly sending out newsletters, the weekly newsletters, either via email or through traditional mail. Of course, if you're in person, we've got announcements and things that are written in the bulletin. I want to draw your attention that there's a meal today right after church, soup and sandwiches, I think. And also while we look at our announcements and what's happening in the newsletters, there's of course fundraisers that are noted in that, but Nick has something he'd like to share about one of those fundraisers. All right, so just keep in mind of that. The Bell Fountain Show Choir, that is actually Sunday the 31st from 4 to 7 here in this building. So support your local high school and the children that participate in show choir. That's a really cool event that we're able to host that. I want to put out there as a save the date for all of you for November 19th. This is a continuation of the Epiphany Project that this church has engaged with the Hope Partnership, the Disciples General Offices in Indianapolis. Friday, November 19th, there will be a 2 or 3 hour session in the evening. Everybody is welcome to come to that. If you are either a formal or informal leader, if you are an established leader, if you are a potential leader of this church, if you are passionate about the future of this congregation, if you are a naysayer and don't like anything that we do, come to this meeting. If you are a cheerleader and love everything that we do, come to this meeting. So you are more than encouraged. You are invited, and we want your participation Friday, November 19th. I am still looking for clarification, though, on Saturday. This is a 2-day event, a 2-day retreat. So Saturday the 20th, I am still looking for absolute certain confirmation about who is invited to participate in that retreat, in that training session, what that may look like. That will be an all-day event. I think before COVID, there would have been a gathering, meet and greet, and breakout sessions, and time for coffee and donuts beforehand, but I don't know what it looks like yet. And again, I don't know if this is, again, a full church, everybody to be involved in a full-day event on Saturday. I'm just looking for clarification, but hold those dates, Friday the 19th and 20th of November, Friday and Saturday. Because again, we really value participation from as many people as we can as we go through the through the Epiphany Project. I also want to call to attention, yesterday, our regional minister, Reverend Alan Harris, was installed. So that's a celebration for the region. Again, Reverend Alan Harris, I've spoken with him a number of times. The last time I spoke with him, he asked me, what does the church need? And I'm not used to receiving that question. And I said, how about elder development and training? That came through our appreciative inquiry of our that we had with Jim Bain back in October. We need help as elders in training, and Jim Bain, the assessor, is like, you're not unlike any disciples churches. So many churches need help and assistance with the training of their elders. And so I spoke with our regional minister and says, that's something that we're looking for help with. And he says, I'm on it. He wrote it down, and I trust him. So anyways, that's it for announcements. I love speaking to you, and I'm going to have lots of opportunities to speak to you through the rest of this worship service, but now I'm going to invite Lynn to bring us into this time and place. Thank you.
We gather to be in the presence and sing the praise of God. We come to answer his call to confession, to renew our vows of discipleship, to bind ourselves together in the service of compassion. We come in this manner, for worship is the work of the people of God. It requires the effort of concentration, the exercise of tongue, the stirring of mind, the use of will. Welcome to this hour of work. Shall we pray? Father of truth, we come to you out of the haunting need for worship, out of the basic need for forgiveness, and out of the crucial need for guidance. We seek to renew our confession of faith and to find food for our hunger. We seek personal integrity and unbounded hope. Above all, we seek to be one in the Spirit of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Good morning again. As the pastor, I get to do some really cool things. Actually, I just think because of my job, I get to do some really, I'll broaden it out. Because of my job, I get to do some really cool things. One of the really cool things that I was asked to do because I'm a minister is to participate in Career Day at one of the local high schools. And then all the other high schools came and shuttled in and say, so what's your job? What do you do? And it was a really cool experience for me. And so just want to share with you some of the some of the things people would ask a pastor. Why do you wear all black? Well, sadly, I had to do a funeral for Ed Post that day. So I actually left the high school event to go and do a funeral service. But then I could talk more about tradition and all sorts of other things and robes that go back centuries, but high schoolers still want to hear about that. One young lady said, women can't be ministers. And well, I had to rebuke her in the moment. Depends on the church you're in, and of course at our church we do have a woman minister, and so just it's, there are so many churches in Logan County, over 90 churches, and what's unique about all these churches, they're so unique, and they're filled full of people that are committed to one another and to their faith and to that community that they have around themselves, and they all provide something unique that those individuals need. Not every church is enormous and huge and growing. Most of the churches, there's 90-some churches. We're probably about the average size, honestly, for churches in Logan County. But yeah, so in some of those churches, it's unfortunate that women cannot be ministers, but at the same time, it's, some of the most magnificent ministers that I know are women. And so I tried to convey that to a young lady on Friday. And then there was another another young lad. He's like, there's education requirements to be a minister? He's like, yes, for you. Go find a church where your minister is educated. But then even looking at our own church, we have I guess 3 different ministers serving here right now today. I went through a traditional seminary tract, 3-year program that took me 4 years. So I have a master's degree. Brenda is a commissioned lay minister, so the process of working through the region and doing the workshops and all the things that she needs to do to be able to call herself a minister. And then we have Bruce Barman Jett, who's currently doing remote classes over a period of time, and also in communication with the Ohio region. What does it take to be ordained? So we have 3 very different examples within our own congregation, and of course we are disciples of Christ, so we're all capable of ministering to one another, especially at the communion table. So it's just so cool. So yeah, is an education required to be a minister? Yes. But anyway, so that was my Friday. So I like this opportunity because I get to hear and engage with all of you. What are some cool things you all do with your jobs? All right, no one likes their job. I love being retired. So what's great about being retired? What do you remember about back when you worked? All right, so what was the, okay, here's a hand, yeah. You enjoyed your job. It was just enjoyable to be part of it. I had 5 different high schools with high schoolers coming to me asking me the same question over and over again. What do you enjoy about your job? And what are the 2 most important things that you do? So I had to come up with an answer on the fly that was genuine and honest. And I feel like I did a pretty good job because it was consistent throughout the entire time engaged with all these children, young adults, is that the first thing that was most important to me is that I get to listen to people and God for the preaching, the revelation of the gospel. So that was the first. So I get to listen to people. That was the number one. And the second thing was I get to help others find what gives them life and help them, support them as they go out and do that thing that gives them life. And so that was the responses that I gave to others. And I just thought I've got a really cool job to be able to do that. So what are the things that give you all life? What are the things that you love to do? And that's what I'm telling all these high schoolers as I'm taking a break with them, to be with a family in a time of loss. To be there and to hear stories about one that we loved and had compassion for and who was so active in the community and was just so genuine in his care for those people that loved him so much. It was really cool to be a minister and for the things that I get to do and in all these different aspects, to be in a gymnasium loaded with high schoolers, to also be standing at a graveside. And I absolutely love that. And we are, again, all capable of being ministers to one another. Find what gives you life and go and do that thing. And here we are at a church where we are given life and we're supported in the things that it is we're called to do. So let's, again, as we work through this Epiphany project, let's find the thing that gives us life and go and do that. And I'm going to help you along the way as best I possibly can. But it's from all of us collectively to do that thing that gives us life. I've spoken enough, but to get people that actually might want to talk to a minister, I put down all kinds of different things on my table as a presenter, and it says everything, nothing is off limits. You can touch and handle everything. So I had a ukulele up there. I had that beach ball globe. They could knock around a little bit. I had a few books and made sure that I had a book with a picture of a female pastor on it that I could have on my table, and this Rubik's Cube. And I feel like my job is what I do is like the Rubik's Cube is a symbol of that. It's a puzzle. It's also a game. It's fun to do, and with this, I get to try and solve problems. That's what I do day in and day out. People come to me with different problems, or there are different things to respond to. So what is it that I'm going to do today? What problems will reveal themselves? And so I'm always trying to figure out puzzles and find solutions. And for me, that's really a lot of fun. In all honesty, I can't solve a Rubik's Cube, and I think that is also symbolic, because the reality is I can't minister to everybody. Nobody has the capacity to minister to 100% of all the people, but we can minister to those that are in front of us in that time of need as best we can. So I will try and solve this as far as I can go with it, and then I will seek more additional help and try and see if there aren't others that can help me solve this puzzle, and we'll have fun doing it together. That was my Friday. And of course, there's no day of the week that I work harder than Sunday mornings, which is also common for ministers too as well. So anyways, just I've spoken a lot, and my daughter's telling me to be quiet and move along. Yep. Wrap it up, Dad. Pray us out. Okay. Let us be an attitude of prayer. Dear Heavenly Lord, thank you for sending us your Son, Jesus Christ, and use us to help us to find the things that give us the most life, and help guide us as we go and do those things. In the name of your Son, Jesus the Christ, amen. We're going to do a stewardship moment, Skit. It's in the bulletin.
Nick, what are you so happy about?
Yeah, what gives?
Well, I did.
I'm not sure I'm following you, Nick.
You were just singing, I've got the joy, 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 and I'm not really sure what that has to do with giving.
Well, I'm feeling joyful because I just finished filling out my pledge card for the upcoming stewardship campaign.
I'm not sure how that makes you feel joyful.
Yeah, I mean, giving away money isn't really joyful, is it?
Well, I know, but this campaign isn't all about money. Yes, there is a focus on money because these pledges are going to help meet our budget, help fund different committees within our church, but this campaign is about what makes you feel joyful, what talents, what abilities you can bring to the church.
Nick, I don't know if I can pledge any money this year. Right now, I'm going through a really tough time financially, but I'd be glad to give my time.
Well, Lena, I think based on the song Nick was singing, my guess is that no matter what amount of money you give, or he puts down on his pledge card, he did it joyfully, knowing that his money is being invested to God's works and helping the church family as well as the community.
You're correct. You need to turn to God to help you make the decision on how much you pledge to give to the church. Even if you can only give 25 cents a week, what matters is that you gave it with a joyful heart. It is the same with your time and abilities. The committees would love to have you share your time and talents along with your finances.
So I could write down that I would like to teach the congregation how to do cartwheels?
Wow, and I guess I could put down that piano playing as a way that I could help out the church as well. Where can I get one of these pledge cards?
Well, the pledge cards will be passed out next Sunday at church on the 31st. You can drop them off anytime between the 31st and November 21st. There's going to be a locked box that you can drop your pledge cards into so that your decision will be kept between God, the financial secretary, and you.
That's great. I feel like I could turn a cartwheel right now.
Can you teach me how to do one?
Sure.
Okay, great.
Looks like you two are feeling a little bit more joyful now. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. I've got the joy, joy, joy.
This morning's scripture comes from Paul's letter to the church of Galatia, chapter 5, selected verses. Christ has set us free for freedom. Therefore, stand firm and don't submit to the bondage of slavery again. You are called to freedom, brothers and sisters. Only don't let this freedom be an opportunity to indulge your selfish impulses, but serve each other through love. All the law has been fulfilled in a single statement: love your neighbor as yourself. But if you bite and devour each other, be careful that you don't get eaten up by each other. Word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Let us pray. Heavenly Lord, we thank you for bringing us together and to hear your word on this day. We ask for our hearts to be motivated by love. We seek redemption and acceptance in your sight, O Lord, our Savior and Redeemer. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. As we reflect on this brief scripture selection from Galatians, it's important for us to try and remember the context of which Paul is drawing to people's minds. Paul wants the hearers of this letter to remember the slavery and bondage of the Hebrew people as they were living under Pharaoh's rule in Egypt. Paul is reminding the hearers of his letter and that suffering, and he's also encouraging those hearers and us today to not submit to that kind of bondage, to slavery again. Within our own current day context, we're exposed to different types of bondage. We don't know what it would be like to serve under the Pharaoh's rule. But one of those types of bondages, some of those examples of bondage that hold us back, could be a codependency, could be loyalty to a job that isn't meaningful or that we're undervalued, underappreciated at. Could be because we're committed to a history of doing things the way that we've always done them because this is how we've always done them before. Or just our quirky obsessive compulsiveness hold us back. Some of us may find ourselves firmly established, unfortunately, in a soul-sucking, no-win situation. We come to God today for a release from these bondages, the things that hold us back. We are here today seeking freedom. Freedom from slavery, of bondage, or of the stuff that prevents us from living a life that allows us to love the neighbor as we love ourselves. So with that, I'm going to share a story with you all. It's a story about a person's decision to be fully alive as she approached death. See, for her, clinging to life beyond a point of it being life-giving for her was a form of bondage or enslavement. Through her faith, Christ had set her free. So with that, not all that long ago, an elder from the church that I grew up in died after a long battle with cancer. She had been a stalwart in the church for years, and her faith was truly unshakable. She was compassionate, an incredibly patient listener. She knew her Bible, prayed often throughout the day, and she rarely ever spoke publicly. When she did speak, though, everybody listened. Her words were few but extremely impactful. As a widow and retired office professional, she could focus on the expressions of her faith that were most important to her, calling on shut-ins, praying, and being present with others in the church in their times of need. She was wise and gentle. Through her actions and commitment of time, she had taught, or really she had mentored, the younger elders of the church. She was a gift to many people in the church. After numerous hospitalizations, second and third opinions, 2 extensive rounds of chemotherapy, a joyful and yet also short-lived remission, the cancer had returned with a new vigor and intensity. In consultation with her family, she made the decision to cease all but the palliative care and to die on her own life-giving terms. In one of her last conversations, she said, I have had so much love. I have had so much love. We thought and responded, there are so many people who love you and are grateful for you. We all missed the point. She corrected us by giving meaning to what it was she had said. There are so many who I loved. I am so thankful for the love God has given me to give away. After several moments of silence, she continued. Having made the decision not to continue with treatment has freed me to focus on quality of life rather than longevity. It has given me the freedom to see in a new way how much love there has been, is now, and will be. Love is meant to be given away. That is what the incarnation is all about. As we sat in silence again, we could hear birds singing, see the sun shining through the windows. A few days later, she was gone. Her decision to end aggressive medical treatment was not easily reached. It was discussions that took place in communities and at times included agonizing disagreements with family and friends. In the remaining days of her life, she was able to rest easy and without anxiety because of her understanding of incarnation and resurrection found in the Gospels. She was able to practice the act of resurrection through her gratitude for the love she gave away. I have had so much love. After making her decision, she was able to fully commit herself to the practice of expressing gratitude. At the end, she was grateful to God for the love she could give away. We often forget the most important tenets of our own faith. We know that we are supposed to care for others within the congregation. We know we're supposed to support others, those that are in need. We contribute our talents and our finances to ministries and to our church. We gather, physically or virtually. We pray, private or public. We try to do better, to work harder, so others don't need to struggle so much. But our imagination and the reach of the aid that we have to offer is limited to those closest to us, to those that we're aware of, and sometimes, honestly, to those we agree with. The reality is we have neighbors that are in need of love, and they are not receiving love from us. We know the things that make us angry. We know what we have bound ourselves to do, despite what any known or unknown consequences may be. We have obligations we hold ourselves to, and we set priorities to some tasks over others. We have prepared ourselves to serve certain people before we think about serving others. There may even be some people or groups we have decided that we are not going to serve at all because it would be too divisive or too uncomfortable for us to do and engage in. We have many things to work on as individuals and communally as one unified congregation. We can also be grateful, though, for the gifts we have, and we can celebrate the things that we do well. We are a welcoming congregation that extends Christ's invitation to the communion table to everyone. We do well at talking through issues, challenging issues in a respectful manner, and honoring what people have to say and being able to speak with candor. And that we are often truly open to trying to do new things, We do care very much for our church community and the people in our surrounding area. We just need to get to know them, but we do care for these people. There are local ministries that we support. This church is over 160 years old. We have over 160 years of history of being active in Bell Fountain. God has given us so much love. So much love to give. I don't believe that there is a lack of love in the world, but I do think there is certainly too much hate. Paul quotes Jewish teachings when he says, "Love your neighbor as yourself." But there are many people walking around that unfortunately do not love themselves. What does that look like? Love your neighbor as you love yourself, but you hate yourself. How does that translate? We need to teach these people that are struggling. We need to teach them to love by loving them. And it's not easy. To be a transformative force in the community, something that all churches are called to be a transformative force in the community, it's not enough to teach the next generation to simply not hate. People need purpose. And giving a directive to end what they know, in this case hate, it's not enough. Paul is writing of the freedom found in Christ. The freedom Christ offers is in serving others through love. Be in service to others through love. With that, don't hoard all the opportunities of service to yourself. Give opportunities. Give purpose for others to serve. If we permit only ourselves to do the gatekeepers to service, we are going to destroy our faith. And this is what Paul warns against when he tells us to be careful to not get eaten up by each other. Even elders, highly respected spiritual leaders of the church, are affected by expectations of ourselves and how we relate to one another. We all have a vision of what it is we are called to do through our daily interactions. Through our imagination, we set obligations on ourselves. In our minds, we say that we're Christians, extending Christ's witness into the world and promoting a message of love. Christ sets us all free as we serve each other through love. Be set free in your service to others. Let's be reminded of our identity, of who we are. Let's understand who and whose we are. Let's believe and share our purpose to love your neighbor as yourself, because we have so much love to give. I invite us all to join in our hymn of response, Love Divine, All Loves Excelling.
Let us pray together. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this church family. We thank you for the people you brought here to this church building and those who are listening and watching virtually. We ask that you work in us, each as individuals, and you would work among us as we come together to fellowship, to build friendships, that your Spirit, who draws us together, would empower us to be the church that you have called us to be. We thank you for what you have done in us and what you continue to do in our lives. Lord, we ask your blessing on those who are our friends who are in Logan Acres and Bell Springs and at home. We ask your blessing on those who are here with special needs, those who are coming with sickness that need to be healed. We come to you because you are the great physician, and we ask for your healing. And remember especially Amy Lotz, Aaron and Linda Kite, Vicki Morgan, Mike Bible, the sister-in-law of Bev Henry, Al and Rosanna Kern, and Megan Levan. For those who are troubled, have pressure on their lives, or burdens that they're carrying, we ask that you lighten those burdens with the strength that you provide. For those who are grieving, comfort them and give them peace. We especially remember this week the family of Ernestine Gaboy, who lost a brother, and also to Lucille Post upon the death of her husband Ed this past week. Lord, we entrust ourselves now to you. We open our hearts to you and ask you to speak to us in a powerful way. We seek to be one in the Spirit of our Lord, who taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Good morning. This has been a really powerful lesson to me this morning, message of freedom. You know, the scriptures talk a lot about bondage, talk a lot about slavery, talk a lot about captivation, being captive to something. And unfortunately, very often, the solution has been interpreted to be better behavior. That if we have better behavior, we won't be in bondage. We won't be a captive. Jesus came to correct that misunderstanding. Jesus never refused to love anyone that he came in contact with. He never refused to heal anyone who came across his path. He never refused the service of anyone who he met. Jesus came to show us that God always intended for us to live freely. Free to be who we are, free to love everyone, free to serve in any way that God calls us to serve. Let us come to this table free. Will you pray with me? Lord God, we are grateful for freedom. We are grateful that Jesus came to free us from shame, from guilt, from self-condemnation, from hatred, from judgment and condemnation of others. May we live in the freedom that Jesus came to give us. In Jesus' name, amen.
We remember on the night Christ was betrayed, he broke the bread after it was blessed and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me." And in like manner, after the cup too had been blessed, he took it and raised it up and said, "This is my blood. This is a new covenant, poured out for the forgiveness of all sins. And I tell you, I shall not drink of the fruit of the vine until I drink it fresh and anew with each and every one of you in my Father's kingdom of heaven. And I tell you, for as often as I eat of this, as often as you eat of this bread and drink of this cup, you proclaim the death of the Lord until he comes again." Amen. You're invited to come forward to drop off your offerings and then receive your elements at the side. We thank you, Lord, for inviting us all to freely make the decision to come forward as we are and receive this meal, to remember your Son, Jesus the Christ. And we thank you so much more for the ability to go from this table, redeemed, restored, to freely share the love that you have given us with others. Thank you for blessing us so much with all of our gifts of love to give. In the name of your Son, the Christ, we pray. Amen. Let us stand and sing our closing hymn. Well, it's really exciting. You've got a lot of love to share, Joyce, and you share it through music. We all have. It's well, let's all join us for a fellowship meal after church. Join me and all of us together with our benediction coming from Shane Claiborne. May the peace of the Lord Christ go with you, wherever he may send you. May he guide you through the wilderness, protect you through the storm. May he bring you home rejoicing at the wonders he has shown you. May he bring you home rejoicing once again into our doors. Peace of Christ be with you. And also with you. Amen.